but the sun will rise on a brand new morn. You'll be warm and dry and freshly warm.
With support from Judith Robert and in the memory of our good friend Tom Kapasinskias, and with additional support from Marshall County Community Foundation and the Indiana Arts Commission and E. Lee Marshall, from historic downtown Plymouth, Indiana, where the Lincoln Highway and Michigan Road cross the banks of the beautiful Yellow River, it's the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. I'm your announcer, Maggie Kubley, and featured on our program today is an Elkhart, South Bend native-born artist, program assistant for the Kroc Institute for International Peace Studies at the University of Notre Dame, and founder of the Poetry Den, an open mic for poets that meets on the last Sunday of every month at 6 p.m. at the IU Civil Rights Heritage Center. She is a 2019 Michiana Women Leaders Honoree and an active proponent of her credo: inspire, provoke, motivate, and create. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big Wild Rose Moon welcome to Pam Blair. Also appearing with us today is another South Bend resident and songwriter and musician, the producer of 3 albums of original work with a wide array of emotions and musical ideas. Let's welcome Jordan Queen to Wild Rose Moon. And now, recorded live from the Wild Rose Moon Performing Arts Center in historic downtown Plymouth, Indiana, where the Art Deco Reese Theater is now enjoying its second lifetime of excitement and inspiration for the benefit of the local and regional community. Here is the radical rascal of all things lunar, or lunatic, your radio hour host, George Schricker.
The river goes round, around the bend. The river goes round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, woo, it starts again. It won't be long till the river goes round. It won't be long till the river goes round and round and round, my friends. Well, thank you so much, Maggie, for that lunaticious introduction.
I like to keep it lunaticious.
Yes, and how have you been?
Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, George.
Okay.
I have been absolutely lunaticious.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Is that something, it seems like it could be an ice cream flavor.
Yeah, lunaticious and delicious. That's what
Yes.
people call me a lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it is a beautiful day here. The sun is trying to come out here in the historic downtown Plymouth neighborhood. And it's so nice that you're joining us today. And also joining us is our resident soothsayer and historian of remarkable and interesting quotations.
Yes,
is that not right?
that is correct, Maestro. We have the words of wisdom passed along by our resident soothsayer and philosopher, Rosie. Rosie sits atop my announcing booth here at the Moon and is ringed with wild roses around her head, multicolored braids down her back, and is attired in a silken dress with pea green leather petals. Rosie sits pensive and ready to dispense thoughts that are, in the words of Carl the skateboarder, both rad and gnarly. Her philosophical notes spring from her hands, both of which are verdant green leaves. Today, she's passing off a note to our radio program. Could I do this again? Sorry. So is Pam reading the note or no? Pam Blair or Pam? But Pam Gunterman's reading it as Rosie, right? Okay, let me fix this script really quick. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
Right where Maggie starts to segue into the thing about who Rosie is.
Got it.
And then John will start playing, and we will proceed. Of course. I mean, we can't not, so.
Shall I?
Yes, please.
Yes, that's correct, Maestro. We have words of wisdom passed along by our resident soothsayer and philosopher, Rosie. Rosie sits atop my announcing booth here at the Moon and is ringed with wild roses around her head, multicolored braids down her back, and is attired in a silken dress with pea green leather petals. Rosie sits pensive and ready to dispense thoughts that are, in the words of Carl the skateboarder, both rad and gnarly. Her philosophical notes spring from her hands, both of which are verdant green leaves. John, could you help us to properly welcome Rosie to our Wild Rose Moon stage?
We have a note from Rosie. This note was wrote by Rosie. It's a wonder of a note, fresh off a ferry boat. If we voted on a quote, this note we'd vote the goat. We have a note from Rosie.
George, in honor of Black History Month, Rosie has been reading the work of Gwendolyn Elizabeth Brooks, an American poet, author, and teacher, and a lifelong resident of Chicago. Her work dealt with the personal celebrations and struggles of ordinary people in her community. She won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry on May 1st, 1950, for Annie Allen, making her the first African American to receive a Pulitzer Prize. In 1976, she became the first African American woman inducted into the Academy of Arts and Letters. These are some of her fine words, delivered in A Speech to Young People from her collection, Blacks, published in 1991 by Third World Press. They relate to the idea that just because the issues are hard and may take more than one's lifetime to conquer, each individual can come to understand their special place in moving things forward.
Say to them, say to the downkeepers, the sun slappers, the self-soilers, the harmony bashers. Can I do that again? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Maggie. Say to them, say to the downkeepers, the sun slappers, the self-soilers, the harmony hushers. Even if you are not ready for day, it cannot always be night. You will be right, for that is the hard home run. Live not for battles won, live not for the end of the song. Live in the along.
Gwendolyn Brooks, everyone.
Well, indeed, those are fine words, and democracy is not a spectator sport, not for the faint of heart. And we have someone here who has no faint heart at all, but is brave and courageous and has done wonderful work in South Bend. Let's welcome Pam Blair to our stage. Pam, it's so great to have you. We had you here before. You were interviewed by John Baylor, and I've been listening to that interview in preparation for this one. And I have to say, that was one stellar job that you both did together. And it really laid out a lot of your own life and philosophy. And we're going to revisit some of that again, because it's important that we release this in radio form too, you know, the idea. So if I remember correctly, you were an only child.
I am an only child.
Yeah.
The first and the last.
Yeah, first and last. And when you were young, in that interview, you were talking about how you had time to yourself, and what exactly did you do with that time? You were talking about that in the interview about your exploration of visual art, I believe.
Yes, I spent a lot of time with print paper that my mom brought home.
Yeah.
And markers and crayons, and oftentimes she would have to call out to me to see if I was still there because I would be so engrossed in whatever project I was doing, whether it was coloring a picture or I used to make school books also. I used to make these school books, and I would play the teacher and the student. So I would do the work sometimes incorrectly just so that I can.
Now you get on, right? You wanted to take someone to task, I guess. Now explain these school books a little bit more. Are these like reports or?
They were like math books. Like I would do all of these math equations and put it into like a book form, just using paper, right, folding it, and then I would have my stuffed animals would be there as classmates as well.
Yeah.
And then, I'd be assigned to do whatever math equation that I had drummed up in this book. And then I'd hand it in, and then I'd play the teacher as far as like scoring it to see if I got things correctly.
Now, you did that, I presume you did that work as an elementary school student. Did that go on through high school?
No.
Okay.
Of a failing grade?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I did.
Okay, oh, nice.
So-
Yeah,
so my
'cause
mom-
that's
yeah,
fun
so-
for the teacher.
Yeah, so my mom used to buy me these books. She'd buy me all these, spelling or writing books. And so I had some of these things like laying around, but these books I would create myself.
That's great. And then when you got to poetry, to high school, I think you said in this interview you weren't that interested in poetry in high school. Is that right?
Oh, not at all. Like
No.
history and poetry, boo.
No.
I liked writing. I did like writing.
And you apparently carried on with art in high school because you had a mentor or a teacher there?
I did. I finished all of my credits by halfway through my senior year, but I didn't have a car, and the bus was not going to take me home. So I had to create a schedule that would last me up until the time it was time for me to catch the bus and go home. So I had a lot of art classes in my senior, the second part of my senior year.
Right.
And so I spent a lot of time in the art room, and then I also. Mrs. Kennedy was a fond mentor of mine who helped me get some scholarships to go to college. So.
And you went to the
Columbus College of Art and Design in Columbus, Ohio.
Right. Mm-hmm. And what was that like? That must have been very different.
It was very different. I had never visited there before I went there. So,
Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. Well, Columbus, Ohio, I'm pretty sure I had been there before, but not the
art
college.
Right downtown. It's right downtown.
Yeah.
Right.
And I saw the work that was on the wall and immediately thought, oh, you're in the wrong place. Like, 'cause it was just,
Yeah,
it was just.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure, and I was just super nervous about being there. But I learned that they teach you all of those skills of how to make work, just like the work that we saw that was displayed, because the work that's displayed is literally the best of some of the art students that were up there, that were attending the college. So.
And how did you find inner city Columbus? I know the town a little bit because my son and daughter-in-law lived there for a while. So I'm aware of that, where the art school is, and I'm also aware that adjacent to it, I think, is the art museum.
Yes, I think it was like right across the street, but it's all in the same, yes.
All in the same complex, the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was that? I mean, was that a different situation for you, a living situation? And were you in the dorms?
So the first year I got there, they were building dorms for the first time, and they were supposed to be for the first year students. And so they weren't ready when we got there. So it delayed us, when we were supposed to be there. I think we ended up starting like October, but they put us in these abandoned apartment complexes and hotel. So there was a little bit of a walk
Yeah.
to the school, which was challenging because we'd have to carry big paper and
Especially
art
in the
supply.
wintertime.
Yeah, and you had to cross this. I think it was Broadway. You had to cross the street that. It's like Chicago once you hit that curve. The wind is like, if you're not holding on to your stuff,
That's
it's going
right.
to go sailing across the
Yeah.
street.
Well, I don't want to go too long. I've got lots of questions for you, but I would like you to read a poem, or recite a poem, or
Okay,
perform
all
a poem, however you'd like to do it.
Sure.
Whichever you think might be appropriate. We can do these out of order. I want to hear complexity at some point.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you've got it.
I do have it.
You have it in your body, I think.
Yeah.
It's stored inside.
I'll start. You just want me to read one, or you
Yeah,
want me
just
to-
read
okay.
one, and we'll talk a little bit more.
I'll say, like, in the light of Black History Month, I was asked to present the I-2 speech by Langston Hughes. And by the way, Langston is my son's name, so he was named after this poet. And he wrote this piece that's called I-2, and I wrote a piece alongside of that that's called I Am the Darker Persuasion. And I want to share that with you. I am the darker persuasion. I have no disclaimer, except history has persuaded you to distrust my behavior. I am of the darker persuasion. When my right to bear arms doesn't count when police invade the wrong house. I am of the darker persuasion in America where dreams are sold, introduced to communities, deleting the neighbor and leaving me in the parameters of the hood. I am of the darker persuasion, loved as the tan Barbie doll, weaved in hair, tits, hips, and lips, sell more records than talent does. I am of the darker persuasion, we fund higher education, filling arenas and stadiums through athletic exploitation. I am of the darker persuasion where systems are broken, hope seems free, and hatred is 400 years woven. I am of the darker persuasion, but I am not your superstition.
That's a beautiful piece. You know, I just read a piece in New York Times. It was, I believe, probably written for Black History Month, but it was about how racism really impacts us all in such a dramatic way. The whole culture is held back by this ongoing force, I guess. And we'll talk a little bit about changing that in the future. And in the next section, but before I go, I want to talk a little bit about the Kroc Institute, where you work, which is seems perfectly suited for your own empathy and abilities. Do you feel at home there?
I do, and to be honest, how I got there was. My wife saw this listed, in the job opportunities, and she said, "You should apply for this." And I was like, I don't know anything about this, and I was really hesitant. And she said, "You should apply." And so I applied. I got the interview, and I actually, when I had the interview, it was a day before my father's funeral. And so it was raining that day, and I couldn't find where the building was, and so it just seemed like I just don't want to do this, right? But I did it anyways, and I just kind of walked away from it like, if I got it, I got it. If I didn't, I didn't, because I was so focused on like burying my father the next day. So we're there. I've done a lot of things that I didn't think I would be doing. Being an employee with the Kroc, they've allowed me to do, several things. Like as far as like I have a mural that I did that's in the Hesburgh Center.
Oh, is that great?
And so I got the opportunity to do that, and some other work that they've allowed me to do it, especially during the time of like when COVID was really and people were home, and the George Floyd. A lot of people were trying to figure out like how to come together, and so I had created this sticker that said "In Solidarity." And they printed like, I think 1,000 of those stickers, and we hand them out all the time. So they go to alumni and everything. So
that's great.
Yeah.
We had a group down from Minneapolis called Humbird, and they were living right next to where all that went down in Minneapolis. And as a result, produced an album, which is interestingly enough called Still Life. And it reverberates, that phrase reverberates on in a lot of different ways through that moment, I think, that concept. So it's really a tragic moment in our history, and I hope we keep learning from it. So thank you so much. We're up next. We're going to have Jordan Quinn, and also we'll be back with the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour quiz show, Shoot the Moon, and we hope you'll stay on stage.
I will.
So you can comment on some of these questions yourself, okay? All right? All right.
With support from Judith Robert and in memory of our dear friend, Tom Kapasinskis, and from the generosity of the Marshall County Community Foundation, the Indiana Arts Commission, and E. Lee Marshall, you're listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, welcome back to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. We're here with Pam Blair and also a special guest here that Pam recommended to the show, Jordan Queen. Now, am I getting that correct?
Yes, Jordan Queen. Yeah.
Jordan Queen.
You might lose the Queen at one point, but Jordan's fine.
Right. And how about you in school? Were you immediately drawn to music? And
I was. My dad tells the story all the time. He remembers driving me somewhere around when I was younger, I think maybe 3 or 4 or something like that, and I just started singing in the back, and then I would always ride with my mom, and we'd sing like Deborah Cox songs and stuff like that. So it's always been in the blood, and I just kind of started doing it when I got into school.
Well, I really enjoyed listening to your work online,
Good.
and
Yeah,
it was
glad you
very
liked it.
At wonderful, and I love this song too. But I want to ask you another question here.
Sure.
You've got at least one digital album, maybe 2, 3.
One digital album. I've got 2 other singles out as well.
2 other
and then
singles,
I'm working on an EP right now.
Oh, that's great. And how would people get a hold of something like that from you?
Well, I am streaming on all platforms under Jordan Queen, and that's JRDN Queen, and that's just Jordan without the vowels. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
And you compose not just on the guitar, but on keyboards, right?
Yeah. Do it
And
online.
did you do that early too?
So I took a piano class when I was in maybe elementary school. I'm really good at ear, but like reading notes, I'm a horrible sight reader.
Okay.
But the tenor sax is my main instrument that I played throughout high school and
Oh, really?
in college. Yeah.
Oh.
So I was a jazz person. I like to do all of that stuff. so.
Okay. So have you ever been to Merriman's Playhouse? That's a wonderful
have
jazz.
not, no.
It's a great jazz club right there in South Bend.
Well, y'all got to put me on there. Y'all got to put me on.
Wonderful. That's right. Wonderful place. And Stephen comes down here and tunes our piano. So
Okay, cool, yeah.
That's great. Anyway, well, we want to hear this song.
Sure.
And I'll let you introduce it. And if you want to, talk a little bit about how you came up with it.
Okay. So the song that I'm going to play for you guys hasn't been released yet. It's coming up on the EP. It's called Nile River. And funny enough, I wrote this song the night I went to Pam Blair's Poetry Den event. Yes, I did. I was inspired by someone, and I just kind of, I couldn't really get the feelings out, so I was like, okay, I was pacing upstairs, back and forth. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I just kind of came up with this song and breathed some life into me, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, it's Nile River. Love at first sight, I ain't seen it. But the way that my heart's beating out of my chest, starting to believe it. It's a scary feeling, I barely know you, but I feel you creeping in my veins, taking over my brain, it feels insane. I don't wanna overwhelm you, never done this before, but the feeling's so sure. I just wanna know more of you. On the emotional, trying to get vulnerable. Yeah, I wanna take my time, exploring your mind. We can take it nice and slow, like the Nile River flows. Ain't no rush, there's room to grow. Exploring your mind feeds my soul, feeds my soul. Hey, feeds my soul. I must admit I wasn't expecting it. You reached out and touched me, I felt your spirit. Hold up, did you bless me? Shit. Yeah, I think that you did, 'cause I'm starting to see everything crystal clear. When you speak, you are all in my ear. I'm intrigued, I'll be your volunteer. I wanna know your story, yeah, I'm talking prehistoric. All the things that keep you yearning, all the things that give you glory. Feel like I'm soaring in your frontal cortex. You're the professor, I'm the student, yeah, it makes sense. I'll take notes, even do extra credit. I'm trying to comprehend it. We can take it nice and slow, like the Nile River flows. Ain't no rush, there's room to grow. Exploring your mind feeds my soul. We can take it nice and slow, like the Nile River flows. Ain't no rush, there's room to grow. Exploring your mind feeds my soul. I know you don't wanna betray your needs. Let the feelings happen naturally. I wanna be in tune with your speed, so I'll sit back and you just take the lead. And you're the gardener and you plant the seed, the roots of life that sprout inside of me. I wanna be the inspiration to your poetry, eating the fruits of my labor from your mango trees, nice and slow, like the Nile River flows. There ain't no room to rush. Hey, it feeds my soul. We can take it nice and slow, like the Nile River flows. There's room to grow, room to grow.
That's so beautiful and so emotional. It's a really beautiful, emotional piece.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from our hometown to yours, the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour presents our very own audience participation quiz show, Shoot the Moon.
It don't matter to me how smart you are. Maybe you're a big buffoon. You don't need to be quick on the draw. All you gotta do is shoot the moon. Shoot the moon. Shoot the moon.
And now here's the host of Shoot the Moon, the original colonist of little used words and often chuffy, twistical, and gut-foundered fellow of ribald jollification, George Schricker. Woo!
Thank you, Maggie, for that rather twistified introduction. And we have two exciting game show members here today out of the audience, and one of them is Gabby Cox. And Gabby, you are from Niles, Michigan.
Indeed. That's where I'm living now. Yeah.
And you came all the way down to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour today?
Indeed, I did.
Let's have a nice applause. My Lord, it's so nice to have you. And we will be traveling, we believe, up in South Bend sometime and doing the show up there. So that would be a little easier for you to
Indeed,
get
it
to the
shall.
show.
Not that the 45 minutes was bad, though. Absolutely worth
Well,
it.
that's
I'm
good.
glad I came.
Now, you have an occupation as a dog sitter. Is that correct?
Indeed, I do.
You
I
actually
just...
sit on the dog? Or?
No, more often they're sitting on me. I might have gotten the words switched around a little bit, but...
So you love dogs.
Indeed, I do. I got a puppy here last August who is not the keenest about me leaving. So I transitioned from working like a traditional kind of 9 to 5 to doing more like gig work so that I could be home and not risk my coming home to my house being damaged.
That's great. And you are an outdoors person. You like hiking and camping,
Indeed.
snowboarding.
Indeed, I'm actually going on a snowboarding trip next week with
Where
some
are you
friends from high school.
going?
Cabernet Peaks in Cadillac, Michigan.
Wow.
We've never been, but it's a ski resort. So this time we're going to a place that, like, once we get done with the slopes, we can just go right to our room rather than
Yeah,
having to drive.
I just go right to the hot tub.
Oh, you know,
Yeah,
and that
that's-
was the thing.
that's where I go.
This resort has an outdoor hot tub.
Oh.
So, and heated
right.
pools. So.
I just ramp my snowboard right into that hot tub.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get some sick air and just land right in the tub.
Who needs to go to the room first?
Not me.
And Derek Jensen,
Yes,
you are from Bremen, Indiana.
that's right.
And you look very familiar. You don't.
I imagine so.
That's right. You don't happen to sit on our board, do you?
I do, in fact.
So nice. Let's have a nice hand. We always need board members. We'll take board members from anywhere, including Niles.
Good to know.
We like Niles. And you are a retired volunteer genealogist.
That's right, yes.
And tell me what that person does. They chase down a person's past?
Right. So I usually spend time at the History Center in Bremen, and people will come in and talk about their grandparents. We'll look them up in the newspaper. I sometimes have pictures of them because people are often interrelated in the town of Bremen. And we've got a big archive of photographs.
We don't want you to go into that right
Yeah.
now. We don't want Bremen mad at us. So and you have an interesting talent. You can write backwards in cursive?
I can write backwards in cursive, yeah, since I was a kid, yeah.
Wow, that is something. And how often does the government hire you to do that? Or?
It's mostly a parlor trick that I do for the kids.
Yeah, it would be very magical. Anyway, well, we better get on with this game. Are there rules, or what's the story?
You bet there is. Would you like me to read them?
Yes.
All right. Prior to the show, audience members indicate their willingness to participate in Shoot the Moon by supplying an answer to this inane survey question. Are you now, or have you ever been, a student of behavioral psychology? And with that question answered in a demonstrably random manner, in a method a person might freely choose, or so they might deceptively think, in the affirmative, and as a result be needlessly subjected to this further interrogation. Are you ready, willing, and able to gently access your remarkable yet environmentally predetermined being in an often silly and self-depreciating manner in the futile attempt to answer a series of capricious and often ill-conceived questions?
Absolutely.
That's what I thought.
I believe so,
And
yes.
from a collection of audience members who have learned to push a button to ask for a stimulating electrical shock while executing a short series of gymnastic maneuvers during which they must pitch a pillow embroidered with the word yes into a gold spittoon, exactly 2 contestants are selected to play Shoot the Moon. So now, let's play Shoot the Moon.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Maggie. And we do have some questions here, and the first one will go to Gabby,
All right.
because you're from farthest away.
Okay.
And you just have to choose a category, and those categories are...
Mirror Peerer, Screen Scene, Langston Hughes, or Peace in Our Time.
And we want you to know that whatever you choose, also Pam Blair might be able to comment on this herself.
I will do Screen Scene.
Screen scenes, okay. Let's do screen scene. Pam Blair attended Columbus College of Art and Design in Columbus, Ohio. Founded in 1979, it is one of the oldest private art and design colleges in the United States. Located in downtown Columbus, their campus consists of 14 buildings and 2 residence halls and lies adjacent to the Columbus Museum of Art. Besides Pam Blair, a number of notable artists attended the school, including Roy Doty, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, a cartoonist known for his Wordless Workshop comic strip and for illustrating Judy Blume's books such as A Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing and Super Fudge. The college also lays claim to fame to Dan Scanlon, screenwriter and director of what major screen release? Was it A, Toga, the perfect dress for yoga, B, Monsters, or C, Cheese Wrench, the story of a brie gone bad?
Boy, that's a tough one.
I'm going to go with B.
B is exactly correct.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Is she right
Shot
about
in the
that?
dark.
Question.
That
That's how I learned something today, too.
Oh, good. Okay, Derek,
Yes.
would you choose a category? We've already had screen scene, so I'll strip that off of the board.
I think I'll take Langston Hughes, Hues.
That's right. Okay, Langston Hughes, a major influence for Pam Blair, was known for a variety of wonderful poems that are significantly tied to the influence of jazz music on the form of his poetry, or vice versa. I think, it goes back and forth. Anyway, Harlem is one of his best-known poems. It's known for its rhythmic textures and critique of racist values in America. And in it, he says, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Although a good number of people know his poetry, they don't realize that Langston also wrote plays. Which of these titles is not a Langston Hughes play? Are you ready? A, Tambourines to Glory. B, Black Nativity. C, Mulebone. Or D, Feet of Clay.
I'm going to choose that first one.
No, I'm sorry, it's Feet of Clay.
Oh, rats.
Yes.
Sorry.
Apologize, that was a tough question, wasn't it? What, did you know the answer to that?
Yeah, sure it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. Thank you, Pam. Okay, what have we got here? We've only got 2 categories left.
I will do Mirror Peerer.
Mirror Peer. Okay, and this is I don't know if Pam's going to read this later, but she has a wonderful poem about it.
Wait, George, what's the score?
Oh, what is the score?
The score right now is Gabby 1, Derek 0.
Oh, so sorry, Derek.
Smoking him.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be that.
I guess I should have asked that question in cursive. So,
Or read it backwards.
Yeah.
yeah, oh, right. That's good. Okay, we'll have to play together more often. Okay, that's good. Okay, so mirror peer, is that where Pam Blair often talks about poetry as a mirror? And if you listen to this interview, excellent interview she did, you'll hear more about that with John Baylor on Moonlight. Anyway, she's held up both as a mirror, which is held up both for the writer to see themselves, but also for the audience reader to reflect upon. And we all know that a mirror is a reflective surface, usually made of glass, and has material painted on the underside that reflects light so as to give an image of what is in front of it. Down through time, however, mirror has come to reflect other meanings. Which of the following is not a meaning of the word mirror? Okay. A disk, website, or another resource that contains replicated data. B, a type of fish regionally known as the Israeli carp. It's a domesticated fish commonly found in Europe. C, a political self-help book. Or D, a code book used during World War I to decipher messages sent from the front to command stations.
I will guess C.
I'm sorry, it's D. It's a code book used during World War. It was not a code book, but very good. And you both had two very tough questions. So now we'll leave it to Derek to see if he can tie the score.
I'll take the only one that's left there.
Okay. Rock around the crock. Okay. As I think this has worked out well today, by the way. I'm looking at the questions. I'm thinking this is going to be perfect as the way this ends. So, as mentioned previously, Pam Blair is a program assistant for the Kroc Institute for International Peace Studies at the University of Notre Dame, which is part of the Kehoe School of Global Affairs. Is that right? I'm getting my facts right. The Kroc Institute for International Peace Studies was inspired by the vision of Reverend Theodore M. Hesburgh and philanthropist Joan B. Kroc, and it was done for a world free from the threat of nuclear holocaust. During his 35 years as president of Notre Dame, Father Ted was a leading national voice for civil and human rights and the abolition of nuclear weapons. Joan Kroc was deeply concerned about the nuclear arms race and committed to world peace. When Mrs. Kroc passed away, she left $50 million to the Institute. Her fortune was associated with what well-known company? A, was it the Kroc Shoe Company? B, was it Kroc Soup Company, a restaurant in Golden, Colorado? C, Crocogator Bait Company in Lake Ozarks, Missouri? Or D, McDonald's, seller of over 1 trillion hamburgers?
I believe she must have been the widow of Ray Kroc, the originator of McDonald's.
That is correct. Very good. So what does that mean, Maggie, to our score here?
That means we've got a tie.
A
Both
tie.
Gabby and
Very
Derek
good.
have scored 1
Okay.
point.
All right, and what does that mean exactly?
Well, as a matter of fact, win or lose, everybody gets lucky on Shoot the Moon. Both Gabby and Derek have won a sticker, a big Wild Rose Moon sticker, suitable for applying to one's orange almond biscotti, one's clay-fired bouillabaisse bowl, a tin mug of McKesson's, or the presenting side of your wall-hung water closet. Congratulations, Gabby and Derek.
Yay! Very
Everyone
nice
wins
job.
when
Okay.
we play Shoot the Moon.
Well, we'll be back in just a little while with Pam Blair and some more, hopefully some more poetry. I'll try to give you more time to just do your thing here, but with some more poetry and talk about her life as a poet and leader of the Poetry Den in South Bend, Indiana.
With support from Judith Robert and in memory of our dear friend Tom Kapasinskis, E. Lee Marshall, and from the generosity of the Marshall County Community Foundation and the Indiana Arts Commission, you're listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, welcome back to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. We are so lucky to have such a gifted recording engineer and audio producer working for our program, as the one we do have. And for that reason, we want to tap directly into his forebrain for any possible audio coholic wisdom he may bestow on our humble staff and respectful audience. John, take it away.
There's nothing so profound or great as a moment with Nate.
I have waited for this moment all week long.
All week long.
All week long, because I've been so excited because we haven't done Moment with Nate for a while.
It's true.
And I really wanted the opportunity to revisit that extremely interesting and convoluted and
Ephemeral? Not to put words in your mouth, but
distorted came to mind. But anyway, yes, I was hoping you could share some words of wisdom with us from your audio-coholic background.
Well, George, I was dipping my chocolate croissant in my chocolate milk this morning at breakfast, and I was thinking about this guitar pedal that I have, and it's called Chase Bliss. And I thought, ooh, you would like this,
Chase
right?
Bliss.
Yeah. It's very, very, very cool, right? But
yes.
I have one problem with that kind of worldview, though.
What is that?
Well, you have to chase things, and that's a lot of work.
They should just come to you, right?
That's
fall from the sky.
Exactly.
Right.
That's my vote. So I'm just letting things happen.
How does Matt?
I refuse to chase anything that I can't get directly, from ramping a snowboard directly into a hot tub.
That's excellent advice, and thank you so much for that tender moment.
I'm here for you.
And that was a moment with Nate. Well, it's so great to be back here with you, Pam. And I do not want to get away from here without you having had a chance to do complexity. And if you want to do something else too, that's fine. So, but I want you to control the flow of things. So, can we go right into complexity?
Sure.
Okay,
sure,
I
sure.
love this piece. I just think it's so strong.
Maybe I should have had this prepared too. Even though I know it by heart, but
I know you know it by heart.
can I give a little background behind it?
Sure.
So hopefully it won't be a trigger for anybody, but this piece was written shortly after the death of Robin Williams, and he's an actor, of course, that I've enjoyed through the years and thought was a very funny person. And so his death sparked a lot of this poem, even though it's just maybe I only read like one line that contributes to that. So it's called Life in Its Complexity. A blind man's canvas does not stereotype in color. It absorbs each tone with a brushstroke, one after another, until it creates unity that comes with sincerity, a place for clarity and solidarity. Intertwined with grace, a different perspective of reality and race. And this race is so fast-paced, dreams have been shuffled into how I get my next hustle, while money has become the new international version of the gospel. My mama always said, everything that glitters ain't gold, and Lord knows why suicide resides in those that make people laugh for a living, while depression inside creates a lynching. Life and its complexity, truth and its infidelity, justice and its immorality, Christianity and its popularity, and peace. Peace has no amount of gratuity. But then there's love, the phantom in my opera, the beauty in my beast, who sings the sound of music only dream girls seek, while raisin in the sun. I got smoke in thoughts, gunpowder on my lips, words like bullets that inject these lyrical rhymes into open minds and anyone who might be spiritually inclined to hear me. The two most important times in life, the day you were born and the day you figured out why. At least that's what Mark Twain said, and it made real good sense in my head, so why not share? But at the end of the day, the sun will reach its hand out to the moon. Ocean's waves will dance to an orchestra's tune. Seashells will come ashore as the Sandman prepares to confess his love once more until she stays in life's complexity.
Yeah. That piece is just so brilliant in so many different ways. I love the way you bring all those, what are movie titles, The Phantom of the Opera, and all those things together in such perfect, clear, explanation of your feelings by using those things. And you use Sleeping Beauty too, and I thought that was so great again too, because just bringing up a concept like that, but then your words reverberate over the popular concept, and make the popular concept something new.
Man, that sounded beautiful. Can we record that? And
Just think that's so great. And you have mentioned that poetry has been a healing act for you, and it would seem to me too that your work at the Poetry Den, and and I believe that started first at Chicory Cafe. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's on
It wasn't the Poetry Den there. We just did an open mic, and so it incorporated anyone that wanted to do music or comedy and poetry. But what we learned is we got a lot more poets that wanted to participate in the open mic.
Yeah, so. And then it was moved. I guess when it was moved over,
Yep,
over to the Civil Rights Heritage Center.
Actually, we moved to Merriman's Playhouse.
Oh.
So Merriman's Playhouse, we saw online where they were looking for more creativity and stuff in that space.
Yeah.
And so we reached out to them, had a meeting with them, and the ambiance in there was just it was incredible.
I remember it.
Yeah, and they had round tables and a stage, and so we invited people. It was like $5 cover charge, and people would bring their bottle of wine and share with whoever they were at the table with.
But you're shepherding all this, and and then it went over to the Civil Rights. I presume.
Yes,
Okay.
we were with Merriman's for 2 years, and then we transitioned to the Civil Rights Heritage Center.
And you're shepherding all this, and I'm thinking about your own view of poetry as something that's helped you heal. And so you're shepherding this so others can experience the same thing you have.
Right. Yes. Someone took me to an open mic at Fiddler's Hearth, and I think me reading and getting the response back did something, and I was like, I want to do that. So when they stopped doing that, then that's when I reached out to Chicory Cafe, and then it just kind of just evolved.
Well, that's great. Well, I'm coming up to your Poetry Den.
All right, I'm holding you to it.
And you have one coming up, right?
Yes, next Sunday.
Next Sunday, okay.
So it's every it's not really the end of the month, it's every fourth Sunday of the month, because there's 2 months of the year that are, there's a fifth Sunday.
Right.
So we say every fourth Sunday of the month.
And that's on West Washington, right?
Yep, 1040 West Washington Street in South Bend.
Right. That's great. Yeah, I want to just talk to you forever, but I think the audience would prefer you do another piece if you've got one.
This is kind of like an interactive piece. I kind of like to do this piece.
Yeah.
And it's called Beatnik Poetry. So, there we go. So with this poem, all I need is audience participation. And so, it's just you snapping your fingers. Y'all sound good. The history of beatnik poetry. Generation of the beatniks. Youth like hippies and barrettes. Black clothing, dark glasses, and turtlenecks. A true rebel kind of movement. In coffee shops, they gather and swarm. Poetry about society making them conform. Some with marijuana they identify. 21st doctors now keeping them high. Others will come and drown their sorrows in wine, listening to the intoxication of rhythm and rhyme. The southern roots of the islands, Chicago and New Orleans, many whose memories are chosen. Armstrong, Holiday, Gillespie, and Ellington. Coltrane, Marcel's, not to mention George Benson. A backdrop of rhythm and blues. Piano rapping, mesmerizing my earlobes. Big Daddy, Daddy-O, a cool cat. Get with it far out, I'm really digging that. That's jazz, y'all. Poetry and pizzazz. That's it.
Well, we certainly applaud you for making a space for these kind of creative things to happen in the South Bend area and also inside yourself. It's the poetry that you recite brings us all into the experience in a direct and visceral way. And I just think it's so marvelous that, you know, it does that. And it's certainly, its musical qualities are, you know, entrancing. And it's really lovely, lovely work.
Thank you.
Let's give her a nice hand. You're going to be here tonight, and we can't wait for that. And I hear more from you, or the same thing's over would be great for me.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Pam, for appearing on the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Hold on a second. Pause, John. Yeah, we can't mention that she's going to be here tonight for the radio.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So, because it's not going to appear anytime soon to the concert.
Okay.
So,
where do I start? What do I do?
Just let John kick it off, and then thank Pam for being here.
Okay. I'll do this all over again.
All right. Second time's a charm.
Well, thank you so much, Pam Blair, for being here. Let's give her. It's been terrific. Thank you for sharing your poems. And
friend Tom Kapusinskis, and with additional support from Marshall County Community Foundation and E. Lee Marshall, you've been listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
And I'd like to thank our stage manager, Howard Gibbs, our audio engineer, Nate Butler, our photographer, Matthew Bergmoser, video producers, Jim Yoakum and Jonathan Nixon, hospitality coordinators and culinary artists, Jennifer Reed, Martina Sam, our moonlight maker, Jean Pazdurka, and special thanks to our applausologist, Michelle Schricker, for her support of the moon, its mission, and me. We'd love to have you attend one of our live recordings of the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour, so just go to www.wildrosemoon.com to purchase tickets and find the dates, times, and places We'd love to have you attend one of our live recordings of the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. Just go to www.wildrosemoon.com to purchase tickets and find the dates, times, and places we'll be recording in the future. John.
George.
As your inner inklings incrementally engage in an elegant, e-sonic energy, inducing an oral ecstasy, might you also induce the airwaves to shiver in awful effervescence, escaping everyone else's apperceptions, yet arriving in a state of internal euphoria?
I've been thinking about it. So when you think you've lost that life, oh, pain and heartache fill your soul with strife. Just remember, as you're tumbling down, it won't be long till the river goes round.
Everybody!
The river goes round, around the bend. The river goes round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, it starts again.
It
Won't be long till the river goes round. It won't be long till the river goes
round and round and round, my friends. Well, a little shaky. We haven't done that for a while. Thank you for bearing with our redos and all that sort of stuff, and thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, Gabby, for being on the game show.
All the way down.
Yeah, and Derek, thanks so much.
You've been a lovely audience.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
have.
so much.
Pam, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, everybody.